Morning everyone, welcome to my first YouTube video where we're going to take a look at the editing process for a boxing event. This was shot D-Day up at the Fed in Gateshead. There was 36 fights and I came away with about 9,000 images. I have a week to deliver them back, get them uploaded, get them on Facebook. Obviously all the boxers, they put a lot of effort in and they want to see their pictures, they want to see themselves looking good. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to talk through when I started out in sports photography in general. There wasn't a lot of details online for somebody who was dealing with bulk editing over sort of like, you know, we can all get an image, play with it and get it to where we want it in its perfection, and we might spend 45 minutes on that image. But this is more about when you're working in sort of boxing events, bulk shooting events, where you've got a time frame, you need to deliver. You still need to deliver quality work, but you have got to make compromises. So I mean, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go run through quickly. So I import all my images. It takes about 6 hours, get them all imported. They're all quite large files. I shoot with a Canon R5, so the files can be sort of 45 meg. But anyway, I get them all imported. I rate them as 2-star images in Lightroom. So I've got a custom filter on where my rating is up and it only shows my 2-star images. Once they're all imported, it is literally a case of scrolling through. I like to get one of each fighter before the fight, normally stood in a corner, and I have presets that I've set up. These have been created probably over the last couple of years, because it speeds up my workflow massively and they work with the lights in the venue. So I would click on one of my presets for making sure the boxes are reasonably sharp and just adjusting slightly. So it's really basic adjustments. Once I've selected that, I work with an MX Masters mouse, which allows me hotkeys. So I have a hotkey on my mouse. When I press that, it will rate that image as 5 and it will disappear out my gallery. So yeah, so we've got one of that boxer, and then we'll go to the next boxer. I'm just going to crop in slightly. Obviously, while I'm talking, I'm trying to think at the same time. It's not one of my strong points. Normally I can do one or the other. So today you've got the pleasure of me trying to talk and think. But yeah, as you can see, there's one that we'd already edited while it was being imported. We were still quite low down, I believe. Yeah, so this was 1/800. This was shot out, so it was probably a little bit slow. ISO were at 1000, and we're shooting at 2.8. For boxing, a lot of it is working with what you've got. This venue, for example, the way the ring's set up, you've got a lot of LEDs that are pointing directly down into the centre of the ring, but all the edges of the ring are quite dark. But it does allow for some nice contrasty shots. There we go. I always like to warm them up slightly. Obviously, being a photographer, oh, you can hear the scrapman going past. Being a photographer, I like to pixel peep. I like to spend a long time going, oh, it could have been this, could have been that. For boxing, you have to accept that your images, you're going to have noise in your images. I could spend forever denoising every image, but then we'd be looking at stupid amounts of editing time, and time is money. My idea is that I can try and get 36 fights edited in a couple of days, get them delivered, and frees me up to move on to other tasks. Yeah, so you can see some of these, I started editing them as they were getting imported, which again makes my life nice and easy. So you're just scrolling through and you're looking for action. I always try and avoid blocked faces with gloves. I love this, anything that you can get a bit of spray. It's always a good one where they have the break, where they have the round break. First thing the corners do before they come back out again is they spray them with water. Keep them nice and cool. But it tends to mean when they come back out, them first few punches that are explosive, you've got the water spraying everywhere, and it's good. It looks good on camera. Same again, if you can get the lights up behind the boxers' heads, it gives you a nice contrasty image. Again, we're just going to drop the clarity a little bit on that, hold the texture, and then we can control that haze. There we go, something like that. So yeah, as you notice, I don't do a lot of cropping. Again, it's more a time thing, certain images, I want to crop them in, and I'm going to apply a preset there. There we go, a bit more contrast. I'm going to put some texture and clarity in there as well. Where he's gone quite dark here, this normally it's because it's a highlight. But yeah, I quite like this look. It reminds me sort of the old school boxing sort of vibe. Now this one here, you got absolutely battered round into the kidneys, and he fell down right in front of me. The venue I'm in, I would have ideally loved, this is one of them moments where you think, oh, I wish I had a 24mm, but I haven't. So you're never going to get every shot. I recently upgraded, I had a 50mm, which I used for a couple of years. I loved it, sharp lens, 1.8, it was quick to focus, and my main consideration was that it was small. It's a lot of weight to be carrying around, so when you've got a small lens, it reduces on that weight. You're not having to zoom, you literally turn up, shoot, nice and easy. But you struggled when you were doing the photos at the end of the bout, so like, not so much the individual boxers, but when you done group shots, you'd be struggling to get everyone in the group in the image, which is not ideal. This one here, we just straighten the horizon on a bit. So yeah, so Amazon Prime Day came round. 35mm 1.8 was on sale, so I picked one of them up. And this is the first event I've tried it out at. I was worried that it was not going to focus quick enough, that it wasn't going to be sharp enough. I will say the focusing is not as quick as 50mm, and it does occasionally, if you lose your subject, it starts hunting, which in the middle of a boxing match is not ideal, because by the time you re-find your subject again, you've lost them. What I found was easiest to do is when it was hunting, just point it down slightly or point it into a corner and just get it bang back on focus. Didn't really miss anything. It weren't like major knockouts or anything that were missed, but it was just a little niggle. The other one is obviously, so it's a little bit bigger, so makes your camera a little bit heavier, compared with like putting the 2470 where you're zooming as well, I reckon it's probably a good choice. But yeah, getting back to the editing, as you can see, we've now got to the end of that bout. So what I would do, I select the last image, scroll back to number 1, hold down shift, and I select the first image. Right click on my mouse, and we're going to set the rating for these to 1 star. 1 star being basically their fodder. Not going to use them again, probably never going to look at them again, and they'll probably get deleted after I've delivered. So now we'll click on the 5-star tab. It'll bring up the images that I've edited for this fight. Okay, now what I tend to do, like looking here, I'm thinking, oh, I've only got 10 images. There was probably a few more images that I could have used. So what I will do, I'll go back to the 1 star. Right, these are all the fights that have been edited. These are ones that I've done already. Scroll through. There we go. Right. I'd say part of this, probably because I'm trying to talk at the same time as edit. So, no, see, I don't like this, too blurry. No. So, literally going to scroll through, and we're going to find a few more images, just to make sure that we've got enough content for each boxer, because otherwise going to be disappointed when they get their images. Oh, why have you only got 3 pictures of me, you know? And I think it's only fair. Like, they put the effort in, they put the work in, and as the photographers, we've got to represent that work. So yeah, I'm just quick scroll through. Hey, that one's a nice shot. There we go, bang that one in there. So yeah, so now we'll go back to our 5-star edits. There you go, got a few extra. Select them all, export, and as you can see, I've already done 10 of the fights, so we store them. I have a Lightroom export folder. I then create a folder for the event, and in that folder I put each fight. I limit the file size to 25 meg, and apart from that I do no adjustments. Export them. Once they are exported, I will then be able to rate all these images 3-star, move on to the next one, rinse and repeat. So yeah, it's reasonably short video, 13 minutes probably ish. But yeah, my first video, my first time on YouTube. Finally built up the courage to come on camera and talk a little bit about what I do photography wise. Any questions, feel free to comment. If you haven't got anything nice to say, please don't bother commenting, because if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything nice. Don't say anything at all, you know what I mean? Yeah, besides all that, getting tongue-tied, give us a follow. I will put links in the video once I work out how, to any of the equipment I use. If anybody is interested in boxing presets, let me know. I'll work out how I can set them up as a file that you can download. I'm not looking to sell them or anything like that. I'm just sharing knowledge, which is over time what a lot of people have done for me. So yeah, thanks for watching. Till next one, take care, goodbye.